It is part of our evolution as a species that sets us above most other animals that we developed a language in order to communicate. Most things have a correct name. It is important to learn and use proper terms in order to effectively communicate. Let me give you a frustratingly common example. As a salesman in the electronics department, almost daily, I'm asked a question similar to this one. Where are the internet boxes? Internet boxes. We then begin the frustrating question-answer dance and hope that I can figure out what type of internet box the customer wants. What do you need the box to do? Hook to the internet. Yes, but what is the purpose of the box? Do you need a modem, a router, a range extender, a mobile hotspot, a wireless adapter for an older computer, or perhaps a device to stream Netflix to your television like a Roku? Sometimes we figure it out after I explain the difference between a router, a modem, and a combo modem router. Other times I get an answer something like this. I don't know. My husband told me to get an internet box and said it should be about $50. Other days I get asked for a USB. I'm not computer illiterate. I know that USB stands for Universal Serial Bus. USB is just a type of socket and a communication protocol used in computers. It's not really an actual item. Asking for a USB is akin to going into an appliance store and saying, hey, I want 110 volt. Sometimes it's a cable they need. Most often it's a flash drive. Still, much of my time is wasted because many customers don't know the proper term for the item that they want to purchase. Some people know what they want, can name it, and those customers are truly a pleasure to serve. Just this past week, college students were moving into their dorms and apartments in anticipation of the upcoming fall semester at a local university. I had this query from one of them. Hey, I'm moving into my dorm and I need a cable like this. How long is this 15-foot cable? I paused. This is a person that is moving into a dorm and I'm assuming is about to begin a college career. How long is this 15-foot cable? I answered slowly and deliberately. That cable is 15 feet long. Yes, but how long is that? I try to conduct myself as a professional. I try to maintain an optimistic view about humanity. Daily, I try to arrive at work with a positive attitude and a smile on my face. Yet when confronted with a high school graduate, a person that is of legal voting age, a person that has apparently been accepted into an institution of higher learning, yet does not have a clue how long 15 feet is, you must forgive me if I stumble. I scoured the great reference to see if perhaps I do happen to live in the middle of the end times. Nothing about idiots, but I did find this bit. But in those days, after that tribulation, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light. Did I mention this occurred just days before the eclipse? Sun darkened and no light from the moon? I have no idea how I could maintain my positive outlook without the use of alcohol and the knowledge that my house is infested with fairies. I hope you have enjoyed looking around my yard. It's beginning to take shape, and eventually I hope to fill everything in and have a true cottage garden, especially against the white fence in the back. Do you know what a cottage-style garden is? It's a style that mixes edible plants, herbs, and flowers in somewhat of an unplanned hodgepodge. Along the fence, we already have raspberries, elderberries, roses, chives, purple coneflowers, daisies, lilacs, and columbine. It's just a matter of continuing to add plants, mostly perennials and bulbs, maybe a few more shrubs. A blueberry bush or two might be nice, until I no longer have any grass left to mow in that area. I love perennials. You only need to plant them once and they come back year after year. We're renovating this 145-year-old house. I've begun the deconstruction phase and have made many discoveries. For example, I recently discovered more treasure that the fairies hid in the walls. Interesting that this rhinestone-encrusted leaf was found on the same day that Glenn Campbell died. Do you sometimes plan to do just a single thing and get sidetracked? Happens to me. For example, I realized I didn't have any Glenn Campbell songs on my playlist, which is totally wrong as I grew up watching him on Hee Haw. I thought to myself, hey, I'll take a quick break and add a couple songs to honor a great artist. Galveston, Rhinestone Cowboy, and Wichita Lineman are now on my playlist. The problem is I didn't stop there. I filled some other holes. How could I be so negligent that I had nothing by Smokey Robinson? So now, 2 hours and 30-some songs later, I'm returning to writing this video blog. Sure, it wasn't even a pause for you, but I've lost my train of thought, and even more importantly, I've almost completely sobered up. The sangria hasn't quite turned, so I'll finish that off next, killing two birds with one stone. My personal playlist now contains 424 songs, and I can listen for 1.1 days without having a repetition. I'm pretty sure I was leading up to talking about our ongoing renovation of our home. Sometimes people ask me, what type of house is it? Until recently, I was flummoxed. What type of house is it? Old, certainly is old. In need of repair. There are many things that need to be fixed, but calling it a broken home, that's just wrong. What is the proper term to describe this house? It's not Victorian. It's not a ranch-style house. What exactly is it? Our contractor knew. Our home is an example of vernacular construction. Vernacular construction is a fancy way of saying inexpensive. It's a style of construction that is not based on the vision of an architect. It is based on the materials and methods of construction that were locally available and common at the time it was built. It's a house built by working people, using what they had available. No pretense, no frills, just good solid construction that has been providing shelter for almost a century and a half. That appeals to me. It's a blue-collar home, hard-working. I hope we can perform the renovations and still maintain the comfortable feel of our house. It's a jeans and t-shirt kind of home. Not those expensive jeans sold that come distressed so that rich idiots can pretend to be hard-working. Not skinny jeans that display your assets to their best advantage. Just comfortable old jeans that allow you to totally be yourself. It took a while to figure out why the 2x4s don't go all the way up to the ceiling upstairs. They stop and are capped about halfway up the wall. Other 2x4s are toe-nailed into the crossbeam and continue to the top to support the rafters. It wasn't until I finished removing plaster to the bottom that I discovered the method of construction. The 2x4s that stop halfway in the upstairs wall are not the standard 96-inch boards in use today. First off, these studs are real honest to goodness 2x4s, 2 inches by 4 inches. They may be over 100 years old, but I trust these beefy timbers much more than the flimsy stuff commonly used today. While they may stop halfway up the second-story wall, they extend all the way down to the bottom of the first floor. It makes sense if you think about it. If you have a supply of stout 12-foot-long boards, why would you want to cut them all off at 96 inches? Vernacular construction, based on the materials and methods of construction that were locally available and common at the time. This house was built while Wild Bill Hickok was still alive, before being shot in the back while holding a hand of 2 pair, black aces and eights, commonly referred to as a dead man's hand. It's not the type of construction I expected to find hidden behind the plaster. It's not built like I would build it if I was going to build a house today, but it's still solid and still working. It's hard to argue with success. My collection of reclaimed building materials is growing. I've got old molding, beadboard planks, and a couple doors. One of our goals is to make our house somewhat ADA compliant. That's Americans with Disabilities Act. This just makes sense, as neither I nor my wife are exactly young. Wider doorways, more accessible showers, things like that are just a good idea. The problem is some of these antique doors are on the small side. One of them I can't even go through without ducking. I'd like to utilize them in the remodel. Right now I'm stumped as to how. I look at the daily, more visible maze of gas lines and wonder if all of them are still pressurized. There are more in the attic that are capped and end above the centers of the rooms where gas lighting used to hang down before it was replaced with electric. They will all undoubtedly get removed and replaced during the remodel with more direct routes to the gas appliances. I know that the old steel gas pipes are recyclable, but I'd love to figure out some way to use them. Perhaps I can repurpose them into a frame for a cat tree for our cat captain. I think he would like that. The crumbling masonry chimneys are supposed to be removed sometime in the next several weeks, and then I'll need to install a new double-walled flue system in preparation for this upcoming winter. Eventually, the whole house will be retrofitted with a central heating and air conditioning unit. But that will come later, after the electrical system is upgraded. Maybe you've noticed my cat Captain in some of the camera shots. Here's a picture from the other day when he was preparing for the eclipse. He's not even a year old, and we feed him one of those high-priced foods that is only sold at pet stores. Still, he seems to be getting pretty fat. He sleeps a lot, like most cats I've ever known, but he does exercise. We play. He likes to fetch and wrestle with my sock-covered foot. He rolls over for treats, and I usually end the training sessions by letting him chase the laser pointer for a bit. He is active regularly. Many nights we wake up to the sound of him running around upstairs, galloping from room to room. Captain is not light-footed, but he still seems to be putting on more weight and getting fatter. Oh my. You don't think Captain would eat a fairy, do you?